Hi everyone, this is Karen Smart, President of Tandem Technologies, the host for today's session. Our focus is to become an advisor to our clients or prospects, helping companies by analyzing their business needs, comparing the needs to the functionality that exists in their environment, and making recommendations that would help improve productivity, create efficiencies, which hopefully will improve your bottom line. As for me personally, I've been in the accounting field for almost 20 years and have a diverse customer base. Tandem has a total of 6 locations across the U.S., so in reality, we have customers in many states. So enough about me. A formal welcome to everybody that is on today's call or just listening in. Our intent is to share information that might benefit your company, which may help you develop a more profitable and efficient system. Usually our e-sessions are directed to our existing clients, but today we're going to be interviewing Mark Kornhauser. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
Who has been in the service industry for 30 years. So for all of you on the call that work in or run a business that provides job costing or needs job costing, equipment management, preventative maintenance, service agreements, scheduling, dispatch, and field operations, woo!
That's it.
That would be a better catch-all, right?
That's
to
it.
just have everything all rolled into one. But you have many modules with the Technisoft Service Manager. And Mark, you are the founder of Technisoft Service Manager. Tell us a little bit about Technisoft Service Manager and specifically about yourself or your company that people would like to know.
Sure, thanks, Karen. Well, Technisoft's been a developer for Sage 300 for about 30 years now. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is our 30th year anniversary. We've got around about 764 customers and about 9,000 odd users. So that's quite a large contribution. We started off way back in 1987, and actually I started off before then in 1984, but we started developing for Sage around about 1987, and we've been doing that ever since and developing specifically in the service management area. So we've got quite a bit of expertise and intellectual property in that area. And of course, we couldn't do that without our customer base and our Sage solution providers. So there's a three-pronged approach. We offer our own business acumen to the service industry. We speak with our customers on a daily basis and we find out what their needs and requirements are. And we also speak to our Sage solution providers to see what their businesses are telling their customers are telling them what they need. So we've got a long history of doing that, and it's interesting because we're about to speak with Richard Branson at the Sage Summer Conference, and his keynote is addressing that very aspect of business, which is listening to customers, and I think we've been doing that for 30 years, and I think that's very important.
Yes, it is. One of the things I found most interesting when we were researching a little bit on Technisoft is that you have a very similar philosophy to Tandem, and that is that your core reason is to exist, to provide that positive contribution to companies and industries all over the world that are trying to create jobs, wealth, peace of mind, and meeting those challenging needs with your software. Mark, I recall back in 1987, I think I was probably about 13. Most software applications were still DOS-based. There were menus or options that would expose different screens, but you had to move back and forth between menus all the time. Was this true of your product in the early years? How did Technisoft keep up with those changes that occurred in the early 90s with regard to the transition to Windows and that nature?
Well, Sage 300 at the time was branded with the name ACPAC, and ACPAC was very adventurous. We see iPhones, we see a lot of new technology today. Well, ACPAC was that player in 1987, and they had what was before Windows. Really, it was windowing systems, and you could have multiple programs open at once. And in DOS, that was a major feature benefit. And I think that's one of the reasons we went down the path developing for ACPAC and now Sage 300, because it was just so modern and so out there. And even today, it's so contemporary with its technologies and always keeping pace with that. So that was one of the really, really big reasons why we selected that platform. And it just had it was what the iPhone was to accounting, and that's really the reason we did that.
Well, I know we've been through a lot of machinations with just the name of Sage. As you said, it started off as ACPAC, and we still have a lot of customers that still call it ACPAC to this day,
yes,
even though it clearly says Sage 300 now.
It's hard to drop that.
And it's great that your company has been around that long. That says a lot for Technisoft Service Manager. When you were deciding upon future releases of product, how do you determine what things or what visions you're going to have for your product into the future, and how that might affect the different environments or different industries, because you certainly aren't just service?
No, that's right. We look at it. It's a very difficult thing putting features and new things into a product, because it impacts customers, and we know that firsthand. So you've got education, you've got using the features to their best ability, and that really takes quite an investment in that. So it's important that when we do that, we consider what impact that has on our customer base. First of all, we never deprecate features, so that if you're using a feature, you don't have to worry about it not being there next year because we decided to remove it or something like that. And so we get the basis of our productivity from our customer base. That's one area we start with, as I said earlier. And we also look at what we do, because we're very educated in the area, so we obviously know what's available at the time and where the industries are moving and what feature sets we could offer to make our customers' life that much easier. And that's where we're very customer centric. We always have been. A lot of buzzwords these days with CRM systems and other things, but we were doing that for a very, very long time. And I think that's just everyone coming to the realization that that's really the way to do business. And I think it's so important. And the service industry is all about customer satisfaction and getting out there and achieving. And if you don't do that, you're not in the service business. It's that simple. So we base all our feature requirements about improving those environments and how we can best support our customers in order to do that. And we have a very diverse customer base, so that's not always the same thing. So we might put a feature in the system that no other customer will use, but it's there and it can sometimes be turned on, or it's there available for everybody, and everyone gets that benefit. And I think that's also a big part of it. Deploying new feature sets is a difficult thing, and we understand that, and so we try and simplify that. We keep our releases very to one a year, and we have 4 updates during the year, which you can or don't have to deploy, but at least 1 update per annum, and that gives benefit to all customers by doing that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark. I know over the last really 2 decades that I have watched Technisoft earn the prestigious Sage Product of the Year award more than once. How do those awards affect the evolution or expansion of your product? And also, I'm just going to ask you a double question here in the same go. Why did you select Sage as an integration partner? What was the motivation behind Sage 3, using that as your foundation?
Well, the first question about the awards, the reason I'm very happy about those is because they were customer chosen and they were partner chosen. So they're not awards that Sage just decided to give out for any specific reason. And that really fundamentally validated the work that we do, and we're always happy. And I like to always tell my staff that that's the reason for being. And I think those awards really drive us, because when we know that we've satisfied our customer base, we know that we're achieving the goals that we set out to achieve in the first place. And so, and part of that goal really is to create a positive contribution to companies worldwide, creating jobs, wealth, peace of mind, that sort of thing. And when we win an award like that, we feel like we've achieved that, and that's so important to us. The second question in relation to why we chose Sage, well, Sage is just such a large company, and they're very focused on the accounting side. They don't get distracted. It's all accounting software, and for that means that we can stay focused as well. Whereas sometimes with some of the other large software vendors in the marketplace, they can take on different types of products, and that can often distract them, particularly if revenue streams change in a direction. And so when you're totally accounting focused, then you build up that relationship, and it's an important thing because we're dealing with business people constantly. We're not with non-business people, which can often be very challenging, at best of times.
Well, and also Sage 300 is a global product. And for those who are on the call who aren't completely aware of Sage 300, we're not going to be concentrating on that today, because we're talking about the Technisoft Service Manager. But Sage 300 is globally positioned. It has the ability to do multi-language packs, multi-currency, and adhering to international financial reporting standards, and other important products are also integrated with the Sage 300. And I'm sure that also helped maybe evolve your decision for wanting to choose Sage.
Definitely. We're deployed in 36 countries around the world, and you can imagine the logistics of looking after that. As you said, different tax regimes, currencies, reporting requirements, and so that was definitely one of the very large reasons for choosing Sage. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Also today, we really all have an expectation that we want an immediate response. We want up-to-date information with minimal steps along the way. And in the past, even my business, I would go on site, perform services, write everything down that I did for the client, take the documents back to my office, update my internal work order with the problem and the resolution, and then hand the paper to my accounting staff so they could do billing. So it might take days for me to get this type of information out. Today, clients are looking for a much more efficient system where information is entered once, and it's also available immediately. So this brings to mind the words cloud and mobility, and use of tablets or handheld devices. So how is Technisoft evolving in that regard?
Well, we've actually had mobility solutions for probably the best part of about 8 years now. It's interesting that Microsoft were supplying those mobility solutions in the early days, and yet now it's all Android and Apple, of course. And yet we were still doing it even in those days. Today, I think everything you've rightly pointed out is a given, and so it's our challenge to make sure that happens and in a seamless manner. So we've got a product called Field Connect, and Field Connect works very closely with our advanced scheduling board, and it means that a scheduler can put an appointment on for a tech, and that appointment immediately appears on their device in the field. They can add parts from their truck, they can put labour charges, and recording is a very simple button press. And because the guys in the field, we like to term them as big thumbs, and they're working hard. They often have grease or other products on them, and they can't really pick up devices, so everything has to be simple for them in the field. So we design our products to be simple in the field, but also comprehensive in the terms of providing the accountability that's required from the field. And that's really what separates us from other products that are out there, that they simply don't have the accounting integration into the back end with Sage 300. And we provide invoicing in the field, parts decrementing from stock. We've got servicing, labour charges, time entry. There's a plethora of options that are available to the tech, and that can be as simple or as feature rich as required for the different operations. So some people just want to record travel on their way to the job. They want to start a recording when they get to the job to record their labour, and they want to take a part out of their truck, maybe scan that part and put it on the job. And it's that simple. If they have the ability to invoice, they may invoice from the field as well. And if they don't, they might put the status of the job onto ready for invoice or ready to be looked at by administration. But the whole process is part of a ecosystem that everyone can see. So we call that end-to-end. So I can be back at the office and I can see everything that's happening. I can be on another device seeing everything that's happening if I'm a manager. So there's security features there that we lock down as well. And that provides the ability for the field guys to be doing things real time and you seeing it at the office real time. So you could be anywhere. We often hear about really unusual situations like being on holidays. Well, I like not to pick up my mobile device when I'm on holidays, but it happens, and sometimes you have to, and you can get immediate access to see what's going on. And that's really today's environment. It's all about now and doing things in the real time, and I think we're providing really good solutions for that. I'm very proud of the solutions we've built.
Mark, how important is the integration of a service system to the core accounting modules in relation to the business cycle?
Okay, well, that's a really good question, and I just say that's core to the universe of accounting.
I like that.
Yes. I think the biggest thing I find, and we get a lot of customers coming off smaller systems, we get customers on bigger systems that are disparate. I've got an Excel spreadsheet here, I've got a CRM system here, I've got something going on there. And the core accounting is really fundamental to the benefits that you get, because you've got mission control in one spot, is the term we like to use. And that means that when you raise an invoice, it's going straight through accounts receivable. When you choose a part, you're taking that part directly out of inventory. You're seeing price lists, you're seeing, in the case of multi-currency, you're seeing currency tables, taxation jurisdictions, everything coming directly out of your accounting system, which is absolutely fundamental to keeping things on track, and your costings and other elements of the profitability cycle, which is so important to running an efficient and good business. So very, very important aspect to it is integration. It's probably number one on my list. People don't see that because it's so in the background sometimes, but so much cost goes into managing disparate systems, and that really is it's a non-event when you've got a full integrated accounting solution.
Correct. And it's also hard to measure that when somebody tells you they have Excel spreadsheets that they're using for scheduling, and they have Excel spreadsheets that they're using for finance and other ways of tracking, and they're still having their service techs write tickets out manually in the field. So how do you go about justifying the cost of a system like Technisoft Service Manager for a small business, and how you explain to them that you're going to be providing an end-to-end solution? And I also think it might be good to explain what your vision of end-to-end is.
Sure. Well, first of all, a cost factor is really something that each individual business has to weigh against the benefit, obviously. Now, we feel that the cost factor is something that is very much underestimated when you look at all the management that goes into looking at disparate systems, and even if you've got an existing accounting system but actually your service system is not integrated to it, that the cost of that is enormous, because maintaining it and looking after that just from a software maintenance perspective can also be difficult. It's not part of it, so when one thing upgrades, does the other upgrade, and there's management issues in that regard, updates. It's the end-to-end solution is really starting by taking that call from the customer, creating a quote perhaps, converting, or what we call promoting the quote to a job without having to rekey anything when the customer gives you the approval, and then taking that into a work order and deploying that to the tech, maybe raising an appointment in a schedule, and that being immediately on their mobile device. The guy in the field, as we said a moment ago, then does the work. He records his travel time, he goes out and records his labour, he takes parts out of his truck, or her of course, and then the job is completed and signed off in the field, and an invoice issued with a signature on the invoice, and it's done in a manner that is just natural. And that's what our software allows you to do, work in a natural workflow. And I think when we look at examples from common examples with Apple, how easy it is to use, or an Android, if you're an Android fan, how easy they are to use, that's what we translate into the field and into that end-to-end situation. So it comes back and that invoice is processed, but it goes back into accounts receivable, goes back into general ledger, inventory is decremented, all those sort of things are happening in the background with very little input from people. And that's the importance of it, because then you're seeing the true cost, whether you're using average costing, LIFO, FIFO, whether your job's a work in progress job, those costs are really transferring right throughout the system and are being accountable at all times.
keeping up with upgrades and the introduction of new features and custom work can probably be pretty disruptive and expensive. And I know we talked briefly about, how you determine, what are you going to put in the next version and things of that nature. But do you have a specific approach to combat the many concerns that those kind of issues can raise?
Well, we do. As I said earlier, one of the things we do is we like to minimise disruption, because we understand, some of our clients, one of our larger clients is 4,500 techs in the field, and if we change something, that can be very disruptive. So we've got to be very careful what we do. Features can be a positive contribution, or they can be a nil contribution. They're rarely a negative contribution, hopefully, but when I say nil contribution, there's some customers just won't use those feature sets, and so that can always be a negative. But we always find something for every one of our customers that's a positive feature to put into a new product. We always keep our updates in the product, in the core product. So that means that if we add a custom work, it's in the core product. That means you aren't worried about when there's a product update, whether that's going to be included or not. It is by default, and therefore moving forward is a very simple path, and everyone moves version to version to version quite simply. And we often hear of horror stories when one system was upgraded and another system wasn't, and I had to wait a year or two, or they even went out of business and we couldn't get the upgrade happening. So those sorts of things just simply don't happen. And with a track record of 30 years in the industry, we think we're achieving that pretty well at the moment.
Good. Another topic that I'd like to ask is that when you have a number of different modules that are part of your solution, how does that work? Can clients just pick and choose which ones they need, or which module is going to be best for them? How does all of that take place?
Yeah, that's a good question as well.
You have the employee portal, the customer portal.
Sure, advanced scheduling, advanced maintenance.
Right. So what if I might have a budget of say $10,000, but I want it all. Who doesn't, right? We all want all these things, but this is going to allow me to grow in the way that I can.
Well, often the decision can be cost-based, but often the decision is just productivity-based and how I want to, when and how I want to deploy those additional products. So a company might start off using 2 or 3 of the products, and then they might want to add those. They can be added at any time. There's no disruption when you're doing that. So, for example, you might have your desktops and web style accounting solution, but you decided that you want to deploy to the field now. And you can add the Field Connect product at any time. And the nice thing about our products is they're scalable. And what we mean by that term is that you can go from one user to infinite number of users. Practically, speaking, it would be less than infinite, but you can go to many users, and that means that the cost of deploying that gets cheaper as you add more users anyway. And it's a simple process. It's not something that we've got to go and reinstall or reconfigure. The system is already configured, so these add-on products are just adding value to what already exists and gives you that benefit pretty much instantly, which is a great feature of those add-ons. And I guess from the cost perspective, we do offer some low-end costing, and we also offer mid to high-end by the scalability of the product. So that's the best part of the feature, is that it scales up and up and up, and it gets cheaper as you go up. So we're not unduly affecting our larger clients either. In fact, we're very competitive in that space.
Yeah. Mark, I know that you have a pretty comprehensive document that prospective clients must complete, or I should say that you ask us to complete with the client's help. Why do you feel that this is so valuable, and what benefit does that document provide to you or even the client when they're filling that out?
Well, I guess it is an important document, and the reason we do that, and we always thank our customers because it is a pretty comprehensive document. And the reason we do that is because they get the understanding of what we do, number one, and how it fits their business, number two. So the first thing is to understand that we know what we're doing, and that's the most important thing. And I think by reading that document and getting the understanding of the questions that we're asking, they realise that we've been in this business and we understand the business of service. And when you're looking at aircraft management, you're looking at mining firms, you're looking at hospitals, you're looking at small engineering firms, you're looking at cleaning businesses. We cover over 3,800 of the 6,700 industry standard codes in the US alone, and we have to have a broad scope in order to do that. And so it's very important that we can achieve those feature sets and other things that are required for meeting those challenges. And not every company is the same, as I said. So a small company has its challenges, a medium-sized company has its challenges, and a large company has its challenges. So we try and provide the different types of add-on products that the different types of products require. Now, having said that, sometimes a small company, will utilise just about everything. Mm-hmm. And so we try and price that fairly and, put that in their hands in a reasonable way so that they can take the benefit of those feature sets as well. But it's never the same for any two companies as well. I don't think I've ever experienced anything exactly the same. There are some things that relate, but mostly they're always different.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that too. Each of our clients, even if they're in the same industry, there's still unique things that they might want to track
Exactly.
or do or have a methodology for handling situations. Well, Mark, I want to be respectful of your time. Do you have any closing remarks or just something that you'd really like the listeners to understand about Technisoft?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think the most important, if I had to leave anything with anyone here today, is just understanding the importance of integration and having a one solution effect, because I think what people just don't underestimate the value of that. And I think having a solid accounting solution in Sage 300 and a solid service solution inside Sage 300 is just so important to the overall aspect of how we do business and how you control your business and how you have your accountability and responsibility management that goes along with all that. And when you've got disparate systems, it's easy for someone to miss something, it's easy for data to go astray, it's easy for people to make excuses. And I think that's probably the single most important thing that I'd like to pass on and for people to consider, because I think that's really fundamental to how you do and how you become successful in business.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mark. I want to let everyone know that we will be doing a full demonstration of the product on August 25th. If you haven't signed up for the demo or received information from our marketing team at Tandem, we want you to feel free to call us at 866-392-6132, option 1. Thank you, Mark, again for your time today.
Pleasure.
It's been a great pleasure to interview you today, and we look forward to more in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye.